Most Australians think buying an investment property costs the purchase price, plus a deposit. That's wrong. And that gap between what people expect to pay and what they actually pay has caught thousands of investors completely off guard. On a $750,000 investment property in 2026, the real upfront cost isn't $150,000. It's closer to $200,000, sometimes more. And the ongoing costs? Most people underestimate those by $10,000 to $20,000 every single year. Today I'm breaking down every cost, upfront, ongoing, and the ones nobody talks about, so you know exactly what you're getting into before you sign anything. Let's start with the deposit, because this is where the first shock hits. When you buy a home to live in, you can get in with 5%. Investment property is completely different. While 5% deposits are available for owner-occupiers under government schemes, investment property loans almost never permit deposits this low. The standard requirement for an investment property is 20%. No exceptions. No government scheme to save you. On a $650,000 investment property, a 20% deposit is $130,000. And that's before you've spent a single dollar on anything else. Now here's what makes this even harder. Banks don't assess investment loans the same way they assess home loans. Lenders assess rental income at only 80%, not 100%, to account for vacancies and costs. And they apply an interest rate buffer of 3% above the actual rate. So if the actual investment loan rate is 6.5%, the bank stress tests you at 9.5%. That's the number they use to decide whether you qualify. And here's the part that really stings. As at April 2026, NAB's investor loan rate sits at 6.71%, compared to 6.19% for owner-occupiers on the same product. On a $700,000 loan over 30 years, that rate difference adds approximately $39,000 more in total interest payments. $39,000 just for investing instead of living in it. Here's where most investors get blindsided. Stamp duty. When you buy a home to live in, you might get a concession or an exemption. When you buy an investment property, you pay full price, every time, every state. On a $750,000 investment property, stamp duty ranges from approximately $21,000 in the ACT to over $40,000 in Victoria. That's a $19,000 difference depending on which state you buy in. And here's the critical thing most people miss. Unlike LMI, stamp duty cannot be capitalized into your loan. Every single dollar must come from your cash reserves on settlement day. You cannot borrow it. You cannot add it to your mortgage. It must be sitting in your account, in cash, before you settle. So when someone says, I've saved a $130,000 deposit, they might not realize that $30,000 to $40,000 of that is already spoken for before they even own the property. Let's put the full upfront cost together on a real example. A $650,000 investment property in New South Wales. Deposit at 20%, $130,000. Stamp duty, approximately $26,000 to $27,000. Legal and conveyancing fees, $1,500 to $2,500. Building and pest inspections, $650 to $1,000. Loan application and valuation fees, $300 to $800. A depreciation schedule, which most investors overlook, $600 to $900. And a cash reserve buffer for emergencies, $10,000 to $15,000. Total upfront capital required, around $165,000 to $180,000, not $130,000, not even close. According to recent data, additional property buying expenses add between $25,000 and $40,000 to the final cost, catching unprepared buyers completely off guard. And here's what most people don't realize. The upfront cost is only half the story. Once you own the property, the costs don't stop. They just change shape. And this is where most new investors get into trouble, not at purchase, in the years after. The average total holding cost for a typical Australian investment property in 2026 ranges from $25,000 to $55,000 per year, including mortgage interest, council rates, insurance, property management, and maintenance. Let's break that down. Mortgage repayments, your largest cost by far. In March 2026, the average variable investment loan rate sits at approximately 6.3 to 6.8%, depending on LVR and lender. On a $520,000 loan at 6.5% interest only, that's around $33,800 per year in interest alone. Property management. If you're not managing the property yourself, and most investors don't, expect to pay 7 to 10% of rental income. On a $550 per week rental, that's $38 to $55 every week, or $2,000 to $2,860 annually. Council rates, water rates, and insurance bundled together. These typically cost around $4,500 annually. Maintenance and repairs, the number that surprises investors most. Budget 1 to 1.5% of the property's value per year for maintenance and repairs. On a $650,000 property, that's $6,500 to $9,750 every year. Not because something will go wrong every year, but because something always goes wrong eventually. Hot water system, roof, plumbing, and when it does, you need the cash to handle it. Vacancy, because tenants leave. Budget for a vacancy allowance of typically 2 to 4 weeks per year. On a $550 per week rental, that's $1,100 to $2,200 in lost income annually. Add all of that together, and you can see why so many investors are genuinely shocked when they see their first year's numbers. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and where the strategy either makes sense or doesn't. Most investment properties in Australia are negatively geared. That simply means the costs of owning the property are higher than the rent coming in. If your investment property earns $25,000 per year in rent, but costs $35,000 per year in total expenses, you have a $10,000 loss. If your marginal tax rate is 37%, this loss reduces your tax bill by $3,700. Your actual out-of-pocket cost for the year is $6,300. So negative gearing doesn't make you money. It makes you lose less. The real payoff is capital growth. The property going up in value over time. According to CoreLogic, national median dwelling values grew 6.3% in the 12 months to March 2026, with Brisbane and Perth leading at 8.1% and 7.4% respectively. That's the bet investors are making. Short-term cash flow loss in exchange for long-term capital gain. And here's who it works for and who it doesn't. High-income earners benefit most from negative gearing due to higher tax brackets. If you earn $130,000 and your property runs at a $21,000 annual loss, the tax saving is meaningful. If you earn $60,000 and your property runs at the same loss, the cash flow pressure could break you before the capital growth ever arrives. So, what does this all actually cost, in plain terms, on a real property? Let's use a $650,000 investment property in Queensland. 20% deposit plus full upfront costs. You need $165,000 to $175,000 in cash to settle. Annual rental income at $550 per week, around $28,600 gross. Annual holding costs, mortgage interest, management, rates, insurance, maintenance, vacancy, roughly $48,000 to $52,000. Annual shortfall, approximately $20,000 to $23,000. Tax benefit at 37% marginal rate, approximately $7,400 to $8,500. Real out-of-pocket cost after the tax refund, roughly $113 per week. That's the number that matters, not the rent, not the mortgage. $113 per week for an asset worth $650,000 that grows with the market. That's why people do this, but you only get to that number if you understand every cost up front and budget for them properly. The difference between investors who build real wealth through property and those who sell after 2 years because they ran out of cash isn't the property they chose. It's whether they understood the real cost before they bought it. Now you do. If you want to know exactly how much you can borrow for an investment property in 2026, including how banks assess your rental income and what that means for your borrowing power, that video is right here. And if this channel is helping you make smarter property decisions, subscribe. It's free, and it might be worth more than you think.